There's a Rabbi, Harold Kushner. In one of the interviews, he was asked, what's the main ethos of Judaism? Is there anything that's unique to Judaism that you think others don't have? And he quoted the story or the part of this famous film, the Fiddler on the Roof. And this moment when Tevye, the main character, comes to two people who are arguing with each other, having a fight. And he listens to one and says, "You are right." Then he listens to the other one and says, "You are right." And then the third person goes by and says, "They can't both be right." And what does Tevye say? "You are right." And it is the ability to hold conflicting opinions, the ability to live with paradox. He said that this is the unique ability of Judaism. And I think that there is something about it not hidden, but in this week's Torah portion. It's Behar, and tomorrow we are going to read here Rafi reading part of it. So, but it's about the laws of sabbatical year and jubilee year. So just to be brief, sabbatical year means that for 6 years people are to sow their fields and to prune their vineyards, but during the 7th year you must give the land complete rest. A Shabbat, but not like we have a Shabbat every 7 days, but the land should have it every 7 years. But then there is a Jubilee year that happens every 50 years. So why 50, some people ask? Because 7 times 7 gives you 49 and the plus 1. So this is the idea of this number, Jubilee. So that the following year of the 50th year is declared a Jubilee. Like the sabbatical year, the land and vineyards must not be worked, and in addition, a liberty, freedom, must be granted to all Israelites, all slaves, because the Torah speaks about the time when when slavery was a norm. But yet, the Torah says that every 49 years, or every 50 years, you should set people free, but not only people, but also the land. There is no, if you read just the Torah, if you live just according to the Torah, there is no such thing as a permanent land ownership. You have to return the land to the original owner after 50 years. So, and this is how the Torah describes this Jubilee year. וקידשתם את שנת ה-50 שנה וקראתם דרור בארץ לכל יושביה. You shall sanctify the 50th year, and you shall proclaim release or freedom throughout the land for all its inhabitants. So what's behind this principle, I think, is the idea that everyone should have a chance to be free. Everyone should have a chance in life. Not everybody is born equal. Sometimes people get in a very difficult situations, but nevertheless, all people should be given a chance. And this verse became an inspiration for a piyut or zemer, which is a traditional Jewish poem, which is now associated in some Jewish circles with Shabbat. Dror Ikra. This is one of the songs that sung around the Shabbat table, dinner table. So Dror Ikra. These are the lyrics of this song. It was written in 960, so 1,000 years ago, in Cordoba, Spain, by the poet, linguist, and musician Dunash ben Labrat. And why we know it's by Dunash ben Labrat, I will demonstrate later. The layout of this, so the screen didn't allow me to put it in the original layout, but I will put it when I show it to you verse by verse. Each line begins with a letter, and the first letters of each line gives you the name Dunash. So this is the way how poets put their name. Not very humble, I'm afraid, thing to do, but this is what they did in the past. So this poet received his Jewish education in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq, under the great and famous rabbinic scholar Saadia Gaon. So because of its history of this tune, I've chosen a more Mizrahi or Sephardi sounding tune to demonstrate how it might have sounded 1,000 years ago. Unfortunately, people didn't have voice recorders then, but we have some versions of this song. This is one of the versions. So let's read this poem and try to understand what it means. So, Deror Ikra, this is the line taken from this week's Torah portion, right? He will proclaim freedom to all, and he will keep you as the apple of his eye. Pleasant are your songs which are eternal. Rest and relax on Shabbat day. Seek my sanctuary and my hall, and a sign of salvation make for me or with me, because the imi. Yeah. Plant a vine within my vineyard, attend the cry of my fair people. So the opening verses are about freedom, salvation. Dror ikra, please proclaim freedom to all people. But then, the last line of these two stanzas, attend the cry of my people as well. So maybe it is also acknowledging some of the misfortunes of our people. So then it continues. The tredavat, or the threshing floor, within Botzra. Botzra is the capital of Edom, one of the neighboring countries in the ancient Israel, which wasn't friendly to us. And a press in one strong Edom. Smash my enemies in anger and fury. Hear my cry when I call again. The reference to enemies and to cries of our people. My God, grant to the desert mountain, fir, acacia, myrtle, elm, and to the leader and the lad, spread peace like river waters. Cast down my enemies, O zealous God, in fear and with broken hearts, and our mouth will open and will fill our tongues with song to you. So, it's interesting, by the way, that there are manuscripts that have Bavel instead of Edom here. And these are names of biblical nations that later became euphemisms. The names that we replace people who are not friendly or countries who are not friendly to Jewish people with. So, for example, Roman Empire was often named or referred to as Edom. in rabbinic literature, and many other unfriendly nations named Bavel or Edom throughout the ages. So the change of Bavel to Edom happens probably in Mizrahi communities, and the word Bavel as so not to offend the country where people lived. So if you live in Iraq, right, and if you're a Jewish person living in Iraq, and you now refer to Bavel, to Babylon, which is in the same territory. This is why you replace not to offend people, but keeping the same message. So messages of these three stanzas seem to be slightly confusing. So on the one hand, the poet wishes all of Israel's enemies to be destroyed, but at the same time, the middle stanza is about peace, wishing for peace. So, and the first assumption that some scholars do, that these two verses about enemies are not native, at least because not all of them, they don't follow the same structure. But it's been disputed. So I will assume in this tonight that there were no additions or changes in this piyut at a later date. So this is most likely the original. Therefore, we must reconcile these two messages. How can you have the world with such dark concepts as wars, exiles, destructions, but at the same time, peace, compassion, equality? So this is the question that Paitan, the poet, is struggling with in this poem. So I found a piece. I struggled with this poem as well. So how can you, at the same time, call for the destruction and war, but at the same time call for peace, spread peace like waters? And I found a piece that I think combines these messages in the best possible way. And this piece is from this prayer book. It is by Rabbi John Rayner, and I'll say a little bit more about it. He wrote, "It's not enough to pray for peace. We have to work for it, to challenge those who foster conflict and refute their propaganda, to ascertain and make known the truth, both when it confirms and when it runs counter to conventional views. To denounce injustice not only when it's committed against us, but also when it's committed against others. To defend human rights, not only our own, but also theirs. To insist that peace requires sacrifice of pride, of wealth, of territory, to practice and promote the way of moderation, compromise, reconciliation, and to build bridges of respect and understanding, trust and friendship across the chasm that divides humanity." So Rabbi Rayner, who was a British liberal rabbi, late senior rabbi of this synagogue, he was born in Berlin, and he left Berlin in 1939 on one of the last kinder transports. Between 1943 and 1947, Rabbi Rayner served in the British Army. So this rabbi lived through Holocaust and was at war as a soldier. His understanding of spreading peace like waters was not idealistic. It was not naive. I think what he means that to spread peace is not to crush enemies, but to work for peace. Make sacrifices. Do everything possible to avoid wars and destructions. What will happen when you fight? If you escalate, is it more likely that your enemy will surrender or fight back? I think the answer is clear. I think violence and war will only lead to more violence and more war. Perhaps this is why the final stanza, the final lines of Dror Ekra, is a call for pause, a quiet contemplation that we, Jewish people, call Shabbat. De'eh chokhmah lenafshecha, v'yihi keter liroshecha, netzor mitzvat kedoshecha, shmor Shabbat kodshecha. Know that wisdom for your soul is like a crown for your head. Keep the commandment of your Holy One, guard or keep the Holy Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom.